Whether you're in the lush green of the map on Ingress or the snowy mountains, it's a very high resolution experience. Not to mention, as simple as the story beats are, they're very impactful. The same could be said about Warframe, Destiny, and other sci fi looter shooters. This is not something I have a gripe with, but rather something I'm noticing a pattern with. Every time a game like this comes out, we as a community in the space looter shooter genre pick it up, get our exotics, and then we dip, leaving all the lore findings to lore channels like My Name is Bife. No shade to them or anything, but I love looking at the lore by myself, finding it in game, having those aha moments, kind of like back in the day when you would talk to your friends, maybe over lunch or over a snack during break or something. In this regard, there seems to be no respect left over for the lore of the game. And as a community, if we just leave it in the hands of historians and YouTubers, we're going to leave behind no footprint of what the game was actually like when it's actually gone. It makes my blood boil every time a new fan of the Destiny 2 franchise says, I wish I could have played the original like you guys. And you and I both know watching YouTube is an inferior version of playing the game. It's not really playing the game if you have to say, oh, I watched it. From my understanding, this was all due to a copyright issue of Destiny 2 writers stealing from another writer who makes novels. Are we really surprised that Bungie was caught stealing again? No, not really. But it begs to question what in our space is okay to take and what is okay to not take. And for a clearer picture, the story that was taken was pretty much a one to one with the writer they were referencing. That's why it pretty much got taken down. It wasn't a matter of creative license. What I'm getting at is Bungie's writers weren't within their rights to take that level of story away from them, basically plagiarizing. If you wanted to know more about that lawsuit, his name is Matthew Kelsey Martineau, writing under the pseudonym Capsar Cole. Martineau alleged that Bungie used his original writings from 2013 and 2014, posted on his blog to create parts of Destiny 2's Red War campaign and the Curse of Osiris. And that's from Copilot, so I'm just gonna. That's the source, it's Copilot on the Edge browser. So they probably sourced it from other places, but that's the whole deal with Destiny 2. So I didn't want to just talk about Destiny 2, but I do want to move on to the subject of sci fi shooters, sci fi games, and just the genre in general, and why it's seemingly not really looked well upon. If you've ever wandered in the wastelands of Stellar Blade in that desert atmosphere, you know you're going there for a purpose to help the people of Xi'an. And through many, many lore dumps, you find out that these people are the second people. The first people were actual humans, but now these second androids are living like humans and living out their lives just as a human would. It brings up the question of how we would live in a dystopian environment where people aren't people anymore. They've upgraded to the point of being androids or cyborgs, or maybe not even have a soul anymore, but we're programmed to think and we're programmed to just live as if our existence still matters, even though the human race is gone. Even the androids that you meet in the town of Xi'an call you Angel because they know you're sent down to come help them. A certain individual in the middle of the town tells you that angels bring both despair and hope at the same time. While I understand that Near Automata started the question of are you still human even if you're an android, that dystopian feeling still lingers in Stellar Blade and it doesn't give an answer, not a clear one anyway. In Near Automata, I think the answer leans more towards no, even while giving a soft yes. In Stellar Blade, some of the NPCs will tell you about the Great Wipe theory. Imagine yourself being an android, finding a bit of lore that says, oh, humans were around before, but our memories were wiped, so we have no memory of that. And can you imagine the disdain an actual human would be? The terrified nature of that information? But androids just treat it like data, like, oh well, humans existed, I guess I don't care. But that's the very flaw that makes the storytelling so peak. An android wouldn't understand that human emotion of losing all that information when you should remember it. That would be terrifying if you found out that you had memory loss or you had some kind of Alzheimer disease and you couldn't remember your own family. And when you lean in to actually listen to the echoes of Stellar Blade's storytelling, you can hear remnants of the past from other games, other genres, and other pieces of media. Think about what you're actually doing when you go to the wasteland in Stellar Blade. You're helping the sick, the weak, and the dead. Something biblical is happening. It's mimicking the Bible, even though it's very obvious when they call you angel. This logic runs through the course of the entire story. The backbone is religion and the flavor is sci fi, which makes a very entertaining piece of media, if you ask me. Do you know where you can find these very same concepts, these very same principles in media? Sci fi looter shooters. There's lore to these things, there's a backbone, there's logic, there's a story behind every bit of content, which is why it irks me so much when I play The First Descendant or something like it, and someone says, oh, there's no lore, there's no content. But if you just pull up a gun, look at the description, that gives you world lore. It gives you a backbone of what this world is about. It tells you something about the red wolves on this red wolf gun. Really, if you just take the time to be patient and look at things in a different way, you will see that everything that's created has a reason or lore, and if it doesn't, then maybe the game sucks. But in the first Descendant, that's just not the case. And a lot of people tell me there's no lore when I've been finding it everywhere. There's even lore pieces on the ground you can pick up. Now, I'm not here to glaze TFD or the first Descendant. I'm putting my hands up on that. If you have a problem with the gameplay loop or the content, that's fine. But for me personally, it kind of fits just right, like a puzzle piece, into the lore and the gameplay. If you finished everything and are bored of the game now, I mean that's a you problem. You've beat everything, so yeah, I mean it kind of plays more like a single player campaign rather than an MMO or like an online all the time game. So I understand if you're feeling like you need more content. Path of Exile is there for you if you want some more free to play games. Path of Exile 2 is like $30, but the first one's free. Go play Path of Exile if you want to play something free again and has lore and all this other stuff. But in the meantime, they've proven that they're working on the story. It's been coming out in patches and updates sooner than even I thought. I didn't think we'd get up to season 4 already. I was just okay with us being up to season 3 and them working slowly on the content to bring us bigger content in the future. But apparently, people are just getting really bored or fed up with the game. Having said that, could there be more meaningful side content in the first Descendant? I think they should do that while we wait during patches. They should implement more side quests, more little feel good stories while we wait. I think that would be excellent. I think that would be the perfect mindset to go into this. They already have assets in the game that they could use for the quest. It doesn't have to be a huge update. It's like minimal resources used. It's like maybe a fetch quest here or there, but then meaningful content like a cutscene or story with that NPC. I think they could do that and it would turn out very, very excellent and cool. And if they just follow maybe something like Stellar Blade's template, because it's also in the sci fi genre, I think it would work out. I think they really could turn it around. And with that, Borderlands 2 is another space looter shooter that did it right. I would say even the Handsome Jack collection, even if you don't like it, I liked it. You could say the same about 3. I didn't like 3. If you liked 3, great for you. I think I like Borderlands 4 way more. I watched my friend Money play that. Borderlands definitely got it right with the game loop of that feeling of, oh, I got my exotic finally. Got all the stats I wanted and I got my role. Now I can play the game how I want to. It doesn't typically punish you for being more powerful than the enemy. And if it does, feel free to correct me in the comments somewhere. But while the fundamentals in the sci fi genre keep declining, like the standards of storytelling and the loot not being adequate, even loose ends that aren't answered, I have hope for the sci fi genre and that we will get a really good open world looter shooter with great story and graphics and resolution and frame rate, all the good stuff, all the juicy bits. One game I can point at that's doing most of those things right and at the detriment sometimes to other games is Warframe. Don't get me wrong, it's not Warframe's fault for being the better game. I understand why people go towards it and why they flock to it. Just like it was understandable to me that people chose the sci-fi space shooter with the half-naked women. It's pretty obvious everyone's just tired of the woke crap and they want to just play a good video game that's a sci-fi looter shooter and they want to enjoy themselves. I would argue Warframe is in the more progressive direction, but I don't want to label it too harshly because it's just an open world sci-fi looter shooter kind of game. Technically, it's not open world, but it is like open universe. Like you can go to any planet you want. But with a sci fi game, obviously more progressive values will enter the genre just because it's a sci fi kind of theme. More futurism will enter into that space. And progressivism is part of that idiocracy ecosystem of storytelling when you're talking about a dystopian future. So there's that. The whole point of a sci fi genre is that it's trying to tell you that in the future things won't be perfect, even with all the technology. I'm actually planning to put more hours into Warframe. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to do that on my PlayStation 4 because I just cannot figure out the account thing to get it onto my PC. Or I could just create an entirely new PC Steam account, which I probably should do, to be honest. And the reason why is because I want those lore rich segments of the game where you feel like you'd rather not be doing anything else at the moment. You feel like you should be there. You feel like you picked the right game. Watching someone play as the Drifter recently made me want to pick up Warframe even more because I like those segments. I like the lore. I like that I'm being immersed while I'm playing. There's a cutscene at the end. I get rewarded for that cutscene. I get some kind of item after doing the gameplay. And that's where most people have a gripe with the first Descendant. You might not get the thing you want right away after you finish the quest. In Warframe, some quests, you just get the item as soon as the quest ends, and you don't have to keep doing and farming that quest over and over again. Most of them, though, I would say, if you want something really powerful, you are going to have to do that in Warframe. But Warframe offers unique items such as mounts and really cool stuff like that. Like imagine if in the first Descendant, instead of just getting a racing hover bike, we get, a horse. Like a cyber horse. That would be really freaking cool. And that is the one thing, the one difference in Warframe that makes me feel like, wow, this game is awesome, is the mounts. You get so many different types of mounts you can do. And just keep in mind that the first Descendant is about 2 years old. We're going on 3 this year. It's just basically in the sci-fi genre a baby. It's basically just come out. If you're not a first Descendant fan, if you get on the hype train now, it's pretty much we're in the building stages. So that's if Nixon doesn't decide to pull the plug on PC. I really do love the game. They pulled the plug on PS4. It's still on PS5 and consoles. Hopefully, it doesn't leave the Steam shop. I really love that game, and I hope it doesn't go anywhere. And despite popular belief, it's okay to like both, by the way. You can like Warframe and the first Descendant, and you can play them equally as much as you want. You don't have to get into a Twitter war about how Warframe did it first. Both games come from Destiny 2. The root of both of them is a sci-fi looter shooter. And if you want to argue even further, it comes from like Marathon and Quake and Doom back in the day. It all comes from Doom. Every shooter that's in space comes from Doom. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. That Warframe did it first. All right, calm down, cool your tits. I'm operator and I'm out. Sorry, we're getting heavy here. We're starting to talk about Twitter again. So let's get going. But yeah, see you guys later. Bye.